try it again.
Okay.
Safety check or safety sallies. That's it. Nothing. So what's so special about this? Just looks like a plain old revolver. 357 Magnum, shoots 38 special. Big deal, right? Well, for one, 7 rounds instead of 6. That's not a huge deal in the revolver world. There are multiple kinds of models out there of different brands that shoot 7 rounds. In fact, there are some that even fire 8. Smith Wesson has 1 or 2 models of that. But still, hey, it's an extra round, so it's better than 6. And in a revolver, that's basically the same size as any other typical 6-shot, like say the Ruger GP100. You know, you're getting an extra round for free, basically. No penalty in size or weight. So that's always nice. As far as the weight and balance, this is the 4-inch model here with the ported barrel, as you see here. And weight and balance of it, it's, I'd say, about average as far as weight. Balance, pretty good, especially since I put on these. These are not the original grips. These are the Hogue, oh gosh, I keep forgetting. Hogue Monogrip. Yeah, I remembered for once. These are not the originals though, but it does help a lot with the balance and the overall feel of it. It just really helps with recoil and controllability and just everything. But as is, even out of the box, it's still pretty well balanced. Very reasonable weight. It's got enough heft to it to soak up recoil, even a 357 Magnum, but it's not so heavy that, you know, you're gonna just be having your pants pulled down all day by the thing, you know, on the holster. So it's nothing terrible. So yeah, it's kind of a good and bad, not really, but it's just kind of, it's something. Fit and finish of it, I am, you know, not a huge Taurus fan, honestly. You would think otherwise, considering how many I've bought and owned and everything. But really, the fit and finish, it's not terrible. I mean, I've definitely seen worse, but it's not, you know, it's not bad at all. Everything on here is very functional, smooth operating. Trigger pull on it, double action, as you see, it's unloaded here. But double action pull, it's very smooth. It's not that heavy. In fact, I'd almost venture to say this is a little lighter than the Ruger GP100s, and it's actually smoother, the pull is. Single action on here, very light. If it's 4 pounds, it's a very light 4 pounds. But very nice trigger pull to it. And again, like I said, the fit and finish quality of it's quite nice. I mean, you got some pretty good lockup on there. You know, it's not quite as tight as the Ruger, for example, or a Smith Wesson. Those are just precision revolvers, and they're built a lot more heavy duty. I mean, you can see the frame on this is not near as beefy as, say, the Ruger, but it's still very nice for what it is. And like I say, it's adequate and it works. There's only so much you can really say about these sort of things. Now, one of the other odd features of this particular revolver is the ported barrel on here. Now, the porting on here, it's a straight up. It doesn't go forward or back or anything, as you know, where it directs the gases. But it does a good job as far as turning the recoil. Instead of a upward muzzle flip that pivots on the axis of your hand, it puts it more of a straight back feel, and you can definitely feel the difference. You know, having fired any other non-ported revolver in 357 and then going to this, it doesn't eliminate the recoil. It just changes where the forces go. So instead of going upward as it normally would, it goes more of a straight linear, and it does make it easier to get a follow-up shot in there. So if you're considering this for a competition gun or even just for self-defense, if you want to get another round off a lot quicker, that definitely does help. Now, there are some negatives to that, but I'll get to that in a minute as far as the porting goes. Now, ease of reloading and unloading. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's okay. It does eject the empties clear, even with the stock grips. It does a really good job of kicking out the empties. Some of them you have a problem with the grip getting, you know, in the way of ejecting, but not so much on this. And with the Hogue Monogrip on here, it's even better because it does have a little bit of a kind of a beveled shape to it, so it gives you a little more clearance to kick those rounds out and to, say, put a speed loader in here. These are Hornady Critical Defense 357 Magnum, but fits in there real easy, so it's pretty nice for that. As far as the sights, as you can see, they're just like the, I keep comparing it a lot, but I'm sorry, it's the just the same exact sights as the Ruger GB100. It's got a U groove. If you guys are fans of Glock, you know, that's pretty much what you're used to. The front sight, one nice thing about it is they are already painted orange. As you recall, on the Ruger GB100, I had to actually paint that on there. So this is something that they thought of in advance and I didn't have to fix, so hey, that's a plus. Now, one last thing is the versatility of this revolver. As most, you know, standard size revolvers, you know, 4-inch, 357 Magnum, you can do a lot of things with these. You can use it for being as a ported barrel, depending on if your class of competition allows for it, of course. This is really good for your competition revolver. You can get some, like I say, really fast follow-up shots in there, and it's very accurate. It works great and kicks out empties real quick, so it's good for competition. For concealed carry, you got 7 shots instead of 6. 7 puts you on par with the magazine capacity of a 1911, and you're getting 357 Magnum or 38 plus P. So there's, you know, you're basically almost on keel with a semi-automatic in that sense. Of course, you know, the reloads are a little more awkward depending on how used to it you are. But you can use it for concealed carry, competition, home defense. Use it as a car gun, you know, bugging out and all those disaster zombie scenarios. Camping, you know, load some hard cast lead, buffalo boar, you know, in case you've got bears in the area or something to that effect. Whatever. I mean, you can just pretty much anything you can think of. This will cover all the bases. So, you know, kind of like the Judge or basically any other general revolver. It's, if you just have to have one handgun, this would be a good thing to consider. You know, it's a pretty valid consideration there. Now, as far as the negatives, like I was saying, the barrel being ported, there's some good and bad about it. Now, the good I've already mentioned. The bad about it is, for one, this is a pain to clean. This right here, you can see how it's dirty right in here. I have scrubbed, cleaned, used every solvent I can. There's just no way to really get that perfectly spotless that I've found. And part of it just might be the metal, you know, the stainless with the satin finish. It kind of just sticks in the little texture of it. I don't know. But it's just one other thing, and it's just kind of a picky thing. But that's one thing. The more practical consideration of it is the fact that it has a lot more noise. Now, I know you hear a lot of people say the first thing they mention when they mention ported barrels, oh, it's got all this extra muzzle flash that'll blind you at night. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what kind of ammunition you use. If you use 357 Magnum, yeah, definitely. But you're going to get a huge amount of flash even with a regular barrel. That's just a given. But if you're using 38 or 38 plus P, which is what I use for concealed carry or home defense in a revolver chambered for 357, not nearly an issue. So not a big thing with that, but the noise factor is an issue. This, being that it has these ports going, you have sound that's going to be directed more towards you. It's not directly back at you as some like muzzle brakes and stuff you'll find on rifles is, but it is significantly louder. I mean, this is even louder than my little Ruger LCR with that tiny 2-inch barrel. Yeah, shooting 38 specials out of this sounds like 357 Magnum, just from where you're standing. And, you know, especially if you're standing next to somebody instead of behind them. So that's kind of a negative, and as I mentioned, the cleaning is kind of a pain in the butt. The factory grip on there is kind of a standard gripe I have with pretty much all Taurus revolvers. That rubber grip that they come with, ugh, they suck. I mean, they're squishy, yeah, they're nice for absorbing recoil. It doesn't hurt your hands, but in terms of feeling good and giving you a really good sense of control on the revolver, a good grip, and then plus, as I mentioned with the Judge, if you're shooting a heavy recoiling revolver, you get your finger behind this trigger guard here. When it recoils, it can, depending on how big your hands are and everything, it can smack you in the knuckle. So it's a little bit of a comfort issue too. But with these Hogue gosh, I keep wanting to call them Hogue handles. They are Hogue Monogrips. These fill in that gap underneath the trigger guard there, and they give you a lot better purchase on there. The finger grooves on there, and same as the Judge, which this uses exactly the same part number, same grip as the Taurus Judge. These have this nice rounded butt on the back of that, so when you're carrying this as a concealed carry weapon, you have a lot less sticking out to print. So this is a lot easier to conceal. I can carry this appendix carry and comfortably, and it conceals quite easily. So that's nice. But the factory grips, bleh, they suck. So you're gonna have to you have to budget for a set of grips on there right out of the box. And about the only other last thing I can really gripe about is just the fact that it's made in Brazil. I know that's, some people don't care, but you know, I kind of prefer my firearms to be made in America. Stainless, almost absolutely required, because you know, sweat and blued steel and me equals rust. So, but as far as Brazil, it's kind of the biggest gripe about that. Anytime you have to have any kind of warranty work done on this, could be an issue, because if they have to send it out for parts, it takes longer, as opposed to something that's made in the US. They're going to be more likely to be able to service it or get parts, you know, domestically. It'll be a lot quicker turnaround time. So I've heard some horror stories about the customer service on Taurus. If anything goes wrong, you know, they might have parts on order and they have to wait for them to, you know, come from who knows where, most likely Brazil, or maybe they outsource their parts to Mexico, or who knows. So something to consider, but again, for a lot of people it's not a deal breaker. Being that this is mostly just a just because gun for me, and not necessarily a concealed carry piece for me, although I have carried it and still do every once in a while. It's kind of just a minor issue. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot else to say about this. I mean, it's a good revolver. Only last other thing I can say is I do have to correct myself on one thing with regard to a revolver I just previously reviewed, the Taurus Judge. When I was saying this was a huge, heavy monster and everything, yeah, for something that only has 5 rounds, yeah, that's pretty big. But this is really not any bigger than this Tracker. In fact, they're virtually identical. And the Tracker is, by all means, a standard size 4-inch revolver. So, gotta correct myself on that little issue. Heck, even the cylinders are the same diameter. These use the same grips, as I said, same frame. Basically, from here on back, it's the same exact gun. So, just a little addendum there I'll just throw in there. And just for size comparison. And just for a little extra perspective, Smith Wesson SD9VE, compared to that, pretty close to the same. And you're talking similar grip height, overall length, you know, it's in the same ballpark. So anyways, so there you have it, the Taurus Tracker 627 357 Magnum. For what it's worth, that's my 2 cents on that. Thanks for watching.